Hey, welcome back to Already Overbooked. Today, I'm diving into All That We See or Seem by Ken Liu, who borrows its title from Edgar Allan Poe's famous poem, A Dream Within a Dream. And it's not just a clever nod to Poe, it's a blueprint to the entire book. In Poe's poem, he describes sand slipping through his fingers, asking if everything we experience is just a dream within a dream. Is it fragile? Is it fleeting? Maybe not even real at all. And Lou takes that same unease and drags it into the near future and has us asking when AI, VR can create realities out of thin air, how can you even know what's true? And at the same time, this is a very much a near future techno thriller. It blends that cyberpunk energy with that detective mystery vibe. It has surveillance, it has AI, it has the fragility of privacy, and the very human need for connection in a world that feels more artificial every single day. And Lou does an amazing job with balancing this thrilling pace with big ideas, delivering high tech chases, hacking sequences, while also pausing to ask uncomfortable questions like, what does it mean when even your dreams can be stolen and sold back to you? So today we're going to unpack how Ken Liu updated Poe's vision, blending that high stakes thrillers with that psychological dread, and why All That We See or Seem is a must read for fans of speculative fiction. So let's go through and jump into the plot. At the heart of the story, it's about Julie Z, once a child hacker who went viral as a teenager and became known worldwide as the orphan hacker. And that kind of fame came with scars. So when we meet her in the present, she's retreated into anonymity, fixing tech for neighbors in her Boston suburb, and trying to go through and just disappear off that digital map. But that didn't last long. One evening, a stranger knocks on her door. Appears a frantic lawyer whose wife, Ellie, has gone missing. And Ellie isn't just anyone. She's a renowned dream artist. That's someone who can literally weave together the dreams of hundreds of people into one shared breathtaking experience. Sounds amazing when you're going through and reading this story. And Pierce tells Julie that Ellie has been kidnapped, and the abductor, the shadowy figure known as the prince, is demanding that something Ellie stole from him to be returned. And the problem is, no one knows what that something is. So what follows is a global investigation. Julie reluctantly teams up with Piers and starting to retrace Ellie's steps, cracking encrypted files, following a breadcrumb trail clues from Ellie, who she went through and left a bunch behind. Along the way, they discover Ellie's secret. She had been conducting private dream sessions for the prince himself, and in the process, she uncovered evidence of his criminal enterprise. So then suddenly Julie and Piers aren't just looking for a missing woman, they're fighting to survive as they peel back layers of corruption, exploitation, and betrayal. And the tension just ramps up as the prince's enforcer Victor starts closing in on them. And every new discovery goes through and pushes Julie and Piers into a tighter corner until they're staring down the brutal reality of what Ellie stumbled upon, a system built on human exploitation to manufacture fame, and a system powerful enough to just swallow anyone who resists. It's really a race against time, with Ellie's life and maybe even their own hanging in the balance. So jumping into the writing style, Ken Liu's writing this book it's very fascinating. It has that balance. On one hand, it leans into the fast-paced thriller type, but yet on the other hand, it's layered with rich details about technology and society that rewards readers who want more than just the fun car chases and shootouts. And what stood out to me is how seamlessly he weaves in the technological jargon. Julie's hacking and the AI whispering could have really bogged down the story, but Liu explained it with clarity and style, almost like he's letting us have a peek behind the curtain of where our future is actually going to go, and it's quite overwhelming. His prose are have a good rhythm to it. It speeds up during those car chases and slows down on those reflection points. And Julie's mistrust of people is a great blurred line between the reality and the digital illusions that's occurring within the story. And Liu also goes through and makes use of multiple perspectives. While Julie is the anchor of the story, there are moments when we see things through the princess side. This is not only building that suspense, but it's also widening the lens, reminding us that the world Julie is inhabiting is complex, that it's vast, and it's filled with people who are morally murky at best. And the result of the writing is both thought provoking, thrilling, and sharp enough to keep you hooked into the story as it's going through and being as the story expands and gives you a lot of time to go through and pause and think about specific questions. So jumping into that, we're going to go through into the themes and the tones. This book is layered with so much themes, and it's not just that mystery, it's a warning. One of the biggest themes is the technology's influence. In the story, Ellie's dream artistry is more than a performance, it's a mirror of our own relationship with tech and art. If you go through and go down a few levels with this, it's how much of what we consume online is actually authentic and how much is carefully engineered as an illusion. And Edgar Allan Poe wrote about the sand slipping through his fingers, about reality being fragile, and Ken Liu's updates that in the fear of our current century. It is very thought provoking and very fun to go through and just try to wrap your head around his thought process when writing this story. Another major theme is exportation, the revelation that the prince's empire runs on slave labor to artificially boost fame is a gut punch, because it takes something we already worry about, which is those bots, those bot farms, those fake followers, and turns it into a dystopian nightmare. And Liu doesn't let us look away. He really forces us to go through and ask, and of how much of our culture is built on nothing, on an invisible suffering. And at the end of the day, do we actually care that it's all fake? He goes and talks about identity and trust within this story as well. Julie begins this book isolated, scarred by her fame and then after her betrayal, but also over the course of the story, she is forced to rely on other people, to start reconnecting again with humanity instead of hiding behind those machines. It's dangerous, it's messy, but it feels real. The tone in the story is filled with intensity, it's heavy, it is very paranoid, but every once in a while you get those flashes of hope when Julie dares to start to trust again, not with technology, with other people. And at the center of it all, of the story itself, which again is lifted directly from Edgar Allan Poe, all that we see or seem is built within a dream. And the novel doesn't just borrow that line, it really lives in it. Poe went through and wrestled with the fragility of human experience, and then Liu takes that same dread and asks, in the digital world, AI driven world, are we already living inside layers of dreams piled on top of other dreams? So let's jump into the pros and cons. Of course, we're going to start with the pros. The strengths of the story really falls with the incredible protagonist of Julie Z. She's competent, she's sharp, but she's also deeply human. She mistrusts, she's cynical. Her flashes of vulnerability makes her easy to go through and root for, and it feels so real. The plot is so twisty, really in the best ways. And just when you think you figured out where it's going, Liu then decides to throw something different in there and kind of pushes you off guard. The pacing of the second half is relentless. There's so much action sequences that really feels, it pulls you in. It's really engaging and fun. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It is fantastically done. The themes of technology, art, exploitation are baked into the narrative without feeling preachy, which I really do appreciate that. Liu isn't lecturing you at all during this story. He's just showing you the world where these issues play out naturally, and that's what makes it hit harder, because you can actually see us as in our society moving towards this type of world, and it's terrifying. So jumping into some of the cons, of course, this book is not perfect. The first half of the book is slow. It's more investigative, and while I do appreciate a good build-up, I can see how some people might feel like it's dragging on and taking forever to get to the fuel, the intensity of that second half of the book. The tech details, while it did fascinate me, some people might not like the some of the methodology about hacking, of the AI terminology. If you want a straightforward thriller that doesn't really have that nerdy deep dives into areas, you might not really enjoy this book. I know it's the first in a series, so there were some things left dangling, and the epilogue definitely had me hooked for the second book. So very curious on where the story is going to go from here. So at the end of the day, all that we see or seem is a thriller that's as much about ideas as it is about the action. Ken Liu gives us Julie Z, that heroine who's brilliant, who is flawed and compelling, and sets her loose in a world that's terrifyingly close to ours. So it feels very grounded and real in our reality. And the book is entertaining with those chase scenes, those hacking puzzles, and those high stakes showdowns, but it also lingers. It leaves you staring at your phone afterward, asking yourself Poe's old question: is what I'm really seeing real? Or is it just another dream within a dream? I ended up going through and giving this an 8 out of 10. I thought it was solid. It was so well done. It's smart, it's unsettling, and it balances that rush of techno-thriller with that psychological punch of classic literature. So if you're into sci-fi thrillers with a little bit more brains, a little bit more underlying tone underneath it, you're going to be fascinated with this book. It's gripping with that layered protagonist at its core, and the book definitely deserves a spot on your shelf. It was very, very well done. So I really appreciate you stopping by. Don't forget to like, subscribe. You know what to do. Till I see you in the next one. Stay overbooked.